Hoseok Youn is our visiting glass artist this year. Growing up in South Korea, he holds his BFA degree in glass and ceramics from Namseol University in Cheonan, Korea. Hoseok earned his MFA in glass from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois. After grad school, Hoseok taught at Bowling Green University as an adjunct professor and was a studio artist at Toledo Museum of Art. Currently, he is a studio lead and educator at Belger Art Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Youn's artistic practice is focused to Venetian traditional glass, figurative sculptures, and photography. He is inspired by pop culture, toys, science fiction, and fantasy. Hoseok combines his own story with traditional historical glass designs and presents the idea in humorous and a joyful way. Hoseok's artistic drive and determination has allowed him to receive various scholarships and awards, including the 2023 SAXE Emerging Artist Award recipient through the Glass Art Society, and that's a pretty big deal, and being a resident artist at the Museum of Glass in Tacoma, Washington. His work is exhibited all throughout the States and then internationally in Korea, China, Italy, and the UK. It has been an honor to have him in our studio here at Emporia State. The students have learned so much through helping and assisting him in assembling these amazing glass figures that you see up here. Let's give him a warm welcome. Hoseok Youn.
God, that is a big crowd. Hi. Thanks for inviting me, and it's really nice to see you all, and just random weirdo from Korea. Yeah. But anyways, I do not speak English very well, so please forgive me if I'm speaking Dunglish, okay? Cool. Okay, well, again, I'm originally from South Korea. I've been in the States about 7 years so far. I came to States for my MFA straight from undergrad. And I'm a glass blower. That is my expertise. Also a glass artist. So yeah, let's talk about myself. All right, but before I start, I always do this shout outs for some folks. But also before that, thanks again to Emporia State University for inviting me. Really appreciate it. And special thanks to Kale, Annie, Eddie, Cadence, also other graduates for glass department. I do this all the time because it's actually quite important for glass blower. Because glass blowing, I'm pretty sure like most of the people here are non-glass people, right? So glass blowing is actually a team working sport. It's not something that you can do it by yourself. So you always need help and support. And besides, you guys probably see my work, to make something like that, I do need a really good team. Mm-hmm. So I always appreciate. So I always tell people, tell myself, my friends, my students, that if there was no team, there wasn't your work. You know, it's something great statement to humble myself, keep myself humble, and appreciate people. So these are the full list of names who helped me over last 7 years, and many different places. So again, Kale, Annie, Cadence, Eddie, and graduate, let's give them a big hands before we start. Thank you. All right. Yeah, again, BFA. I'm very, very glassy person. I started my BFA in glass major in Korea, also MFA glass major in the States. A little bit about my childhood. There's me, baby me. How cute, yeah. So I was a single child for 10 years, 11 years actually. Now I do have a younger brother, which is 11 years gap. So my childhood was like just by myself, and that's because both of my parents had a job, you know. So I was just spending most of the time by myself at home after school. But, you know, I'm pretty sure my mom probably felt bad for me, so she bought me a lot of toys, you know, movies, games. So I wasn't that lonely, you know. So anyways, that's how I spent it. I also used to play violin when I was young, and I'm pretty sure that I got that gene from my dad. My dad is actually a musician, so I played violin for about 10 years. But I guess my dad also had a huge expectation from me, and that kind of gave me big pressure. And I was like, Dad, I'm gonna quit. Screw this. Yeah. But I still play, because I kind of do miss it. I still play as a hobby, It's really fun. It's a really great instrument. And also, another fun thing about me is that I actually went to middle school and high school in the States when I was young, which was in New Jersey. And you can see them me hanging out with these nerdy white kids right there. Those were my besties. Cool, and that's my family. On the right side bottom, my dad, my younger brother, my mom, and chubby myself, yeah. So, how did I find the glass? I found out glass in college. I wasn't interested in glass at all, because I went to college that I wasn't even interested in, but I just had to go. So I was just, in my head, I was just like, I'm just gonna transfer. I don't care what this department teaches me. So I didn't even know that my department teaches glass until the first day of class. So first day, so I got to know about that. I got to know about that like on the first day of class. And my professor was like, okay, so we're gonna just play with some glass today, like beginning class. And there are many glass techniques, not just glass blowing. There's a flame working technique, which is like you melt the glass with a small torch, and there's a cold working technique. You can like grind and laminate glass, grind and polish, things like that. So flame working and cold working actually was the first two techniques that I started to learn about glass. And at the first moment, when I play with the hot glass through the flame working, I just got this feeling, like instant feelings that I was like, this is too fun. I'm gonna go for this life. Yeah, I do feel super lucky about that because that was a point where I found my dream, So, and then 13 years just flew. I'm like, I'm here right now. It's like, yay. But anyways, so that was my first glass piece on the left top that I made. Obviously, it was my first piece. I broke so many times, but also I was just obsessed with the glass. I was just living in the glass studio 24/7. I was like that passionate. Yeah. Now I'm getting old. I'm kind of tired. I do need to sleep more. But anyways, yeah, that was my first piece, and then that second piece that I made in freshman year. Bottom pieces I made freshman year and sophomore year. I was also obsessed with this cold working technique that you laminate the glass with the color sheet glass, and then you grind and polish it and make abstract form sculptures like that. It was really fun. As you said, it was mostly about I was just enjoying the technical part. There was no idea, there's no concept behind it, but I was just really, really enjoying it. Also, in sophomore year, I learned how to blow glass for the first time, and these were my first three pieces that I made in sophomore year. Same thing, very much technical piece, sculptural, abstract form. Really enjoyed I just really enjoyed the process of it, yeah. From junior year, I kind of started to think about the ideas, now I have a skills, what I want to make, I know what I want to talk about. But that time, undergrad, still kind of the time of figuring things out. And I started to try to scale up my projects, also try to do some installations, made a giant sperms in the hot shop, giant condom. I don't know why I did that, but also, yeah, it's another cool thing is I made that katana right there on the right side top. That wasn't made out of a sheet glass, but we do have a grinding equipment in our studio, but the process of that was I actually used a whetstone and hand grind it for full months. I did not use the equipment, because if you use the equipment, you can literally finish that in a week. But I was just like how the katana makers do. Like, I use the stones to grind it and polish it, and it does cut paper. Yeah, glass can cut paper, which was super fun project. But I did not sleep. Yeah. That was my thesis work, undergrad BFA show. Are you guys familiar with the Go game? Do you guys know? No or no? Yes or no? But yeah, that was kind of like new hobby for me at that time. You know, I was struggling in my life, but one of my friends told me, like, hey, why don't you just learn how to do some Go game? It kind of like meditates you well. So like I learned that. Well, when I learned that, it kind of felt like Go game is like very much deeply related to life. Kind of, like choosing the right choice, being patient, win and lose. Also, like, yeah, taking time and then thinking about a lot of things like for a long time for to make a next choice, next move. It was actually a performance piece. So what I did is I made that stone. Those are glass stones I made in a hot shop. And I normally when we make the piece, we'll put it in the oven to cool it down slowly, which we call it a annealing process. But I did not. So like right after I make it, I knock it off the pipe, and then I just put it on the wood board. So whole wood board, I was just playing the game. Every time I make it, I play the game. And it was this whole wood board was on fire. It was actually a performance, and it was really fun. But I had to document this, so I had a video, and also I remade whole project again to document it as a photo. Unfortunately, I lost the video file, so I really miss it. But yeah, that's what happened. Cool. So after BFA, I got to visit Japan. There's a really cool island in Japan called Nijima Island. It's in south part of Japan, and there's a really cool glass place, Nijima Glass Center, and they host the workshop annually. One glassblowing part, and the other part is a flame working workshop. And they invite the international artists to there. So it's a festival, it's a workshop, but also at the same time, it was a kind of competition. So like the instructors have to pick the best student in their workshop at the end. And so the Glass Center will give that student a full scholarship to take a workshop in different places, such as Pilcher Glass School or Corning Museum of Glass, some kind of place like that, those big places. And super luckily, I won. I won that first place, and that was a piece that I made to win. It's a beautiful, kind of like threaded sculpture. Now, one really great thing, super cool thing about this place is that they make their own glass there. So there's a special stone in this island called the Kogaseki stone. And they will melt this stone in their pot, and that stone will turn into that beautiful olive green glass on top, right? Mm-hmm. So I got to use that, and that was a really cool experience. So yeah, that was one of my journey after BFA. So with that scholarship, I got to visit Pilcher Glass School in Tacoma, Washington. I don't know if you guys have heard about this place or not. It's Pilcher Glass School in the glass world. It's like a main place for all the glass students. It was founded in 1950 or 60, yeah. So I got to take this workshop, a sculpting workshop of the instructor is Martin Janeski. He's from Czech Republic, so that's the guy right there. He's one of the in glass world. He's one of the best hot sculptor, and he he's pretty young. He's in 40s, I think, right now, but he's been blowing glass almost over 25 years. I heard that he started blow glass when he was like 12 years old. But anyways, he sculpts, his major technique is that he sculpts human head or torso or animal torso, whatever, highly realistic. That's his main technique. So I got to learn that skill. So you can see that I made this hand and the head in that class. It was really, really fun opportunity to take it. Cool. So after that, I went to grad school right away, which was in 2018. Still, for me, grad school was like trying to figure out what am I doing, what am I gonna make, what do I like to make, because I just like to make anything in glass, yeah. So, but also at the same time, I guess it was like a kind of cultural influence to me as an international, like this country is a super capitalistic country, It's like, so I was always interested in capitalism, consumerism, materialisms, but also Korea, my country, is also a super materialistic country. I'm not gonna lie, yeah. So anyways, I was always interested in those kind of topics, and I started make some work about those. And that shopping cart right there, I found it on the street. It was an abandoned Walmart shopping cart. So I grabbed that to my studio, and I kind of refabricated, make it into like a jail. And then those plastic bags, those are glass bags, mirrorized glass bags I sculpted, and speaks of my life in America, yeah. Stuck in a cheap life. Similar thing, because I was a student, I couldn't afford anything like fancy stuff, Walmart was my mall, my personal mall that I would go every time when I was a student. So, but also, this I see that USA still use a lot of plastic bags, right? Korea doesn't use a plastic bag anymore, yeah, for environment, yeah. So every time I go to Walmart, and sometimes I'll bring 30 bags to myself. And so my apartment always used to have full of plastic bags on my floor, and I didn't even know what to do, because I didn't want to hurt the environment. I didn't want to throw them out, So that's literally how I felt. I feel like I was drawn to this plastic bags when I was in my apartment. It kind of sometimes it made me feel overwhelmed with my feelings sometimes. At the end of grad school, I started to make a goblet, traditional practice, traditional stuff, and the reason why I started to make goblets is because in glass world, goblet is actually it's known as the high skill set in glass blowing. So it's a perfect object to grow your ego. Yeah. Don't try to learn that. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. I mean, of course, I was young. I was a student. I wanted to my ego was high up there, and because I knew how to make the goblets. But I'm a grad student. Also, I was a grad student. So my professor didn't want me to just make a historical replicas all the time, And then what is the point of being in grad school? So I had to find something fun. What can I do with this goblet? So I made this is the first piece that I made with this historical vessels. It's a mask. It was part of my thesis show. And I had all audience wearing it and took a selfie of them. And don't they look cool though? Yeah, super cool, right? Love it. Similar topic, yeah. Just struggle in. Inside of me, a value of myself is I know I'm a high valued person. But also at the same time, the reality of my life is just I'm living in this very cheap environment. So I wanted to kind of talk about that the contradiction of that life, of the artist's life, you know. Funny thing about this piece is that it's a photography. Funny thing about this piece is that the image of inside the frame, that cost me about like, what, $50 to print out, just nothing. The frame cost about $1,000. Yeah, so even that process, it's just kind of, it talks about it, you know, my life. All right, so that was my grad school. After grad school, I was still interested in goblet making, historical objects, but I started to take it seriously. Like I started to study history of glass, and more. I needed more knowledge, professional knowledge about the glass in Murano. So I'm gonna quickly talk about the goblet. Now, we call it a glass people, we call it a Venetian glass, aka goblet, Venetian glass or traditional glass. Now, Venetian term here is, and I'm not talking about, it's not about geographical term, I'm talking about the era. So, which is 15th to 18th century, Renaissance, medieval time. That is, in glass, that is the golden age of glass. So that is a time that like all this fancy glass technique, not just goblet technique, every glass blowing techniques like patterns, textures, shapes, all those techniques were developed in this time. Mm-hmm. But why the goblets are mostly known as a Venetian glass? Because that was a time that goblet was the main production in the time for kings and loyals. Mm. And to study about the goblet, you can actually easily kind of like start to figure out from the old paintings. Mm-hmm. If you go to any like fine art museums and try to, if you see some old paintings closely, there are some painting that has a goblet inside, and that the goblet that the person is holding there, it's actually very classic. The most classic Venetian goblet. It's called the Taza. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of tell that like, oh, that goblet is from 15th century by looking at the title, you know, at the year of the painting. Another two more paintings. The flute, champagne flute. This is actually, the left one is actually a Spanish painting, I think. And both this champagne flute and the Romer on the right side, the Romer cup, and these are from 16th centuries. So these are like cups from all different countries, European countries specifically. They all kind of look similar, but it's kind of interesting that they're all from different centuries. Different countries. So from the top line, from left side, that's a Venetian. That's actually from Venice. Okay, and the second one, the swirly one, that's also from Venice. The third one is from Sweden. Mm-hmm. That's from Sweden. The fourth one is actually English. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line from the left, that's from Sweden. Second one is actually it's a goblet from a company called the Salviati in Murano, Venice. So Salviati company is an old glassware company, and they designed so many different stemwares, decorative stemwares. So it's actually one of their design. But there was one time there was a terrible flood in the past in Venice, and that flood destroyed the whole building. So now they don't exist, but the building is still there as a historical place. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the third one, bottom, that's actually German. That's from Germany. The last one is French. Mm-hmm. Also in the past, they made some trick cups, fun cups. It's like kind of like cups for game. They call it trick cups. So on the left side, you can tell that it's a cup, but it looks like very awkward to drink, right? Now, so the rule is that you got to figure out how to drink that cup, how to use that cup. Now, for the left Now, if you see the left cup right there, you see the little like handle thingy on the side? That's actually straw. So you pour the drink, you actually gotta use that to drink it. And the right side cup, I'm pretty sure the drink will come out through that mouse creature on top of the vessel. That's how you drink it. Also on the right side image, the little crazy woman right there, that it's a horn-shaped cup that has a line on the surface. So it's actually a drinking game cup. So you pour the drink and then you have to drink right onto the exact line. And if you miss that, you just gotta keep drinking. And that's how you get wasted like her, just like that. Anyways, to give you guys a little information about goblets, this is our term that we use it in glass world, like bowl, volio. A volio is a connection between the cup and stem, and there's an optic bowl, another disc called the maurice, and stem and a foot. And that's the process on the right side. So we'll make the cup part and the stem separately, and then later we assemble these two to finish the goblet. It's kind of a brief process. Also, some traditional techniques, we call it a bit working. So when an assistant brings you the hot glass, just a little bit of a bit, we can use that bit to create those special decorations. Mm-hmm. I do have some artists that I really admire, and I learned a lot. Nobody taught me how to blow glass. Guess how I learned?
YouTube.
Yeah, that's the only way I could learn. Yeah, nobody taught me how to make a goblet, so I had to watch these artists on the YouTube thousands of times. That's how I basically learned how to make a goblet. It was painful. But anyways, Michael Shunke is actually one of the first generation American glassblower based in Philly right now. He's been blowing glass about 30 years, I'm pretty sure. I would say he's one of the best goblet maker in America, yeah. His designs are based on the Venetian goblets, but his designs are very elegant and simple. So he sells them very well, yeah. And it's giant cups, yeah. James Mongrain, based in Seattle, he is also one of the first generation glassblower. He makes this Venetian stemware, but he maximized the scale. So normally the stemware size will be like this big. It's pretty small and delicate, but he will make it like this big, and then make it to the giant vessels. Davide Fuen is original glass artisan based in Murano, Venice right now. I would say he's probably the last generation of glass artisan. And these stemwares, it's not his design, but these stemwares are the original stemwares from medieval time. And he's one of the artisans who can make those right now. Matthew Grade is actually one of my favorite contemporary artists, a glass artist, and he's a French-Canadian. Mm-hmm. He makes a goblet in a weird form, and he enamels the image or engraves the image on the surface. And he talks about like social issues and political issues, things like that. And he's also a really good drawer. I love that he mixed this glassblowing image and with the pop cultures, and also the paper that he chose to draw. I think it's a brilliant, yeah, I love his style. For the last one, William Gudenrath. He is in Corning right now, and I would say in glass, he is probably the most famous. Also, like almost like he's more like a glass historian, not the glass artist, I would say. So his job in Corning is like he will make the historical replicas. So he works with the historians in Corning, and then they will bring the image to him, and then they will ask him, "Hey, Bill, how did you make it? Like, how did they make it?" And then his job is to figure the process out. What's amazing about him, that he makes this super crazy stemwares by himself. He blows solo. He doesn't need his assistant. Yeah. But anyways, that's his shop, and also his studio setup is also very similar to traditional setup, which is just furnace and small kiln, and that's it. And with that, he can make anything. Yeah. So I got a huge opportunity. Felt super, extremely lucky that I got to visit there. And then it was my first time officially meeting him. But what I was shocked was that he knew about me, and he invited me to his studio and to blow glass with him. I was tearing. Yeah, I was like crying. But anyways, yeah, that was a great chance, and he taught me some like nice skills and things like that. And I also asked him like tons of questions. He gave me like private tours and like with the good food, things like that. Well, anyways, that was an awesome opportunity. So it was a very inspirational opportunity, and I got that inspiration. I brought up with this new design, and I made this actually by myself in my studio. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, it's just a shot glass called a Reaper. Mm-hmm. I do have some regular non-glass artists that I really admire. Beth Lemon, actually she's a glass artist. Sorry about that. She's really a famous artist, fine artist. She does an installation like that. Her work is everywhere if you search her. Also, Theo Jansen, are you guys familiar with this guy? Theo Jansen is a kinetic artist. He makes this giant sculpture, kinetic sculpture. He called this a sand beast, and then he will leave this piece on the beach, and it will move by itself by the wind when wind pushes it. So I really love that. Yeah, that's probably it about the artist that I really like, and that's probably a Bill version of me after 40 years. I don't know what kind of what animation is. I'm pretty sure it's a Japanese animation, but I found this randomly in the online. Dr. Stone. I remember that. But yeah, I kind of see myself from there. All right, about my work. I love, like I said earlier, I grew up with toys, so I'm a huge toy collector. And I still am, yeah. And I wanted, like, my work is it's about my personal story, very personal story. And behind my work, there's a huge desire of success. So from my culture and from my family, I always had this big pressure of being a successful person in life. Of course, everybody wants to be a successful person, but my parents, because I was also firstborn, and my parents kind of like pushed me, give me a lot of pressure to like, you have to success in your life. But so I would always have this pressure, live with this pressure all the time. And now as a glass artist, like I always think about, how can I be a successful artist? And I have this huge desire in my ambition, in my mind, that I want to be coolest artist. I want to be super skilled glassblower. I want to be I just want to be the best. Yeah, that's what I want to do. But that's a great ambition, right? But trying to be like that, behind that, there are some dark feelings. There's a loneliness, there's a depression, there's anger, there's a vanity, there's a jealousy, there's a competition. I had to go through all that feelings until now, until recently, until I started getting established. So it's kind of like all my figures, all my sculptures kind of represent myself. They're like me living in a fantasy, myself in a fantasy of successful life. Mm-hmm. And I love pop culture, like I said. And that is the culture, that is a part that I can get inspired. Because all these superheroes, villains, and all cool characters, that is like, I would always, when I see them, I would always be like, I want to be like them, because they're the one, they're in the movie, in that world, that they are the one who gets admired, gets respected. And I always have this in my mind, like, I want to be like them. And that's a reason why I collect toys, because whenever I see the movies, those characters in the movies or games, I cannot just have them in the real life, right? Like, I can't have those actors in my life, right? So the best way that I can have is buying that figure of that cultures. Because, you know, every time movie comes out or game comes out, there's always toys follows them, right? And that's a way for me to fill up this, my ambition or my fantasy of my inside of my mind. And yeah, that's why I collect toys, and that is why I make toys. I started to make with the goblets. You know, I wanted to make my own toys. And again, these toys all just represent me, of myself. It's pretty fun to play with it though. Yeah, whenever I'm at home, like by myself, I'm like playing with it, and I broke it. I'm like, shit, I have to remake it. And that's kind of like a process how I do it. I actually use the toys to figure out the process. And for the left side image, if you see it, if you see the leg, like upper part of the leg, I see a vessel form from there. And the knee part, I see a little optic bowl stem, and the lower leg, another vessel form, and I combine them. And then they'll be my style of toy. Also, even 2D image, like I don't just see the image, I see the vessel from the image. And like even that visual effect, I see the cut from there, and I see a connection, a voleo connection from the wrist, and also that muscular arm can be another stemware for me. That's kind of like how I see it, and that is the ability that I have for my work. So I made this. Are you guys familiar with the Dragon Ball animation? Yeah, I was inspired by that animations. I made this demo. This was actually a demo piece when I was teaching a workshop at Oxbow School of Craft in Michigan last year. And it's another my trick up. Yeah. It wasn't alcohol, so I wasn't wasted, okay? Oh, it's really fun to play with it, yeah. Anyways, I also do draw. This is my drawing style. Sometimes Eastern style, sometimes Western style. I also my head is always so loud, like new designs are popping up in my head every single second. So, but I can't just, keep it in my head because I know I'm gonna forget about it. So whenever a design pops up, I'll just immediately draw those pieces on my paper. And when the paper gets filled up, it kind of it turns to interesting drawing. That is more like my process sketch. So I have a regular drawing, I have a process sketch, and even for me as a maker, there are just too many details in my work. So I gotta note it on my sketch, so I know where what's what, what's going where. So I'm gonna start to show my earliest works. This is actually the first piece since I started this series of work. It's pretty simple. You guys are no, it's not. Yeah, it's pretty simple, but it was very hard. I totally remember this moment. It took me. It's not even big. It's about this size, and it took me 6 hours to make it. But anyways, that was my first piece, and it just gets a little more complicated. I started to add more details about it. I call this guy. My friends call this guy Pizza Cutter. It kind of does look like Pizza Cutter, right? It's just a funny thing. Another one. Now you can tell kind of the parts have been, more parts are getting added on the sculpture. And this was one of my large scale sculpture. Now you can tell that wow, there's a lot of details in it. Mm-hmm. And also that was a time that my skill got better, so I kind of sort of put some pose in it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes after I finish my piece, I have a lot of extra parts left. So, I was like, what can I do with this parts? So I just started randomly build things up with this extra parts. And then this guy came out. It's actually probably, I think this is the most interesting shape of all my work. Another one. That is actually my favorite one. It's the largest one, longest one I ever made. It's just amazing that like you can create some like a creature-looking creature shape with a very simple designs. Like I didn't even add any other like fancy stemwares on it. It's just simple cup, one optic bowl, and a long stem. That was it, and I was able to make this thing. But it died in the shipping to Europe. RIP. Anyways, with all the figures, I do installations. I don't show my figures individually because about my concept, talking back about my ideas and concept, I know that out there are people like me. It's not just me, right? So I wanted to create this, mimic this culture. So when my all figures are all together, they create a whole another stories and they create the whole culture. Like they kind of look like competing each other, they're like also kind of look like they're hanging out together. It's just, I feel like when it's all installed together, it kind of feels like they complete my story. And behind that, there's definitely materialism, and behind that culture, there's also conspicuous culture. So at some point, I found out this really cool traditional tool called a prunt. It's more like this is more like a stamp. So in the medieval time, in the past, how people, glassblowing is such a time-limited process, and people need to, when people have to describe their details, this was the tool that they could describe in like a second. So you can, on the right side image, you can see that raspberry details on the side of the stem. That was created by this prunt tools. Now, there's a stamp and a prunt. So left one is stamps. Stamps are more like a just flat bottom with a slight texture, in it. But prunts are the one. That's the traditional tool from Murano, and it's more like a half molded stamp. Prunt is a shape in Italian. And I used all of them to describe the image, and you guys can totally check out that piece that I brought. There are many prunts on that piece. You can check out later. And I also started to make my own prunts on the bottom image. Like I like using gears. I like using diamonds. Recently, I started to make a Squid Game mask print. Yeah, because someone actually asked me to make a Squid Game character, so I had to make one. Now, these are the sample images. Like you can tell that now I'm adding there are many details created by this print and stamps. Another one like that. So after started using a print and stem, like now my works are going crazy. Now, like if you see the detail images, like you can't even tell like how many prints are there. There was one time I tried to count how many prints did my assistant bring to me. It was 4-hour slot, and my assistant brought me a 60-bit, and to make this about 10-inch tall figure. Yeah. My assistant normally hates me. Yeah. Samurai. That was the first samurai that I made. These are the detail images. This one is a little special one. It's a mini series. So I have many young fans. They always want to buy my piece, but my piece is not cheap. So one of them actually asked me, "Hey, can you make something that we can afford?" Yeah, it's like, yeah, why not? That's actually a great idea. So I made this like 5-inch tall mini figure, which was inspired by Gundam, animation Gundam. Yeah, they love it. And I sold it like $400, and they love it. And so I started to produce this small ones, and I started to get like messages, from social media, and they want, because they want to afford it. So which has been like very interesting client connection building for me, because normally artists will go to will sell the work through the galleries or wealthy collectors, but mine is like totally different situation right now. Yeah, but anyways, this piece is also displayed in a toys and miniature museum in Kansas City right now until June. So if you guys ever visit Kansas City, please check out. Yeah, cool. That's the largest one that I currently have right now. Another samurai. I made this in the Tacoma Museum of Glass when I was doing a residency there. Detail. Another samurai. God, I love samurai. Yeah. Yeah. Fun thing about this part, the arrow. Do you see the arrow there? I actually made all the arrow individually. I kind of use my lamp working technique to describe the blade part and the feather. And right now I'm using that as to eat the fruit. Guggenheim. This piece was inspired by this goblet called Guggenheim. In glassblowing, Guggenheim is the hardest stemmer to make. It's actually not that hard. But anyways, I made one this week in the shop, so you guys can probably check out tomorrow. But anyways, it was a commissioned goblet from the family called Guggenheim family in the medieval time. So it's kind of very original and unique. So I kind of transformed. I really love the design. I transformed all this stemmer into this fantasy weapons and the hand and also wings. What's great thing about this? All the body parts are magnetized. I can change the part. I can take off and change the part. So that is a whole nother potential for me for my future projects. And also super easy to ship. I break my piece a lot. I really do break my piece a lot. USPS broke mine, FedEx broke mine, UPS broke mine. Hate all of them. But anyways, yeah, it's really fun project to have just adding a magnet site that you can change the design all the time. One of the most recent one that I made, it's just a dragon. I was inspired by the movie Hobbit, and there's a dragon in that movie. It's called Smaug. It was actually a commissioned piece by Federal Reserve Board, United States. So this piece is going to be displayed next year next to the building next to the White House. Yeah, that's a detail image. I just shipped it. Hope it didn't break. Anyways, for the last one, do you guys know the movie Wild Robot? Have you guys seen it? It's so good. Jesus Christ, I love it. Did you cry? I cried a lot. Yeah. But anyways, you should definitely see it. It's not really it's an animation, but it's not really childish movie. It's about unconditional love. But yeah, I was inspired by that movie, and that's obviously if you guys saw it, and you can tell that those are the two characters there, right, in the movie. Mm-hmm. Sweet. Now, some side projects. I do make some, this is actually my process by project, and I use Lego as a tool. So whenever I make the large pieces, I have to I have to glue two pieces. And the glue that I use is it needs more than almost 7 days to cure it. So I need a little support to keep those two pieces steady. And Lego, trust me, Lego is the best tool in the world. You can literally make a tool with the Lego. But also, because this is the part that I was trying to glue right here. But the whole piece is not balanced. The weight is not balanced. So that is why I need to build the support to keep it steady. But also at the same time, it looked so interesting to me. So it just speaks a lot of things about whole another thing. So I sort of document these as a photography. I do make functional things. It's a planter. I call it Fiore. It's just a small planter for small plants, but also it's for like luxury deco at home. People love it because there's a plate that catches water. Good thing, cool thing about this, like that you can see through the plant, but also when the water drains through the hole on at the bottom of the cup, like the plate catches it, so it's pretty functional and nice, you know. Another one, this is called the Empowered series. It's a dagger piece. By the way, I will be making a dragon tomorrow afternoon, and I will be making this dagger in the morning demo. Just letting you know. Please come. Okay, anyways, yeah, I was inspired by this medieval sword. And this sword is actually not for battle use. It's actually people carried around this sword to show off their class during that time. So I thought it was really interesting, and I made this a dagger with the cup on the top, and I wanted to talk about this like addiction of conspicuous life. And also I took a photography with it, so I can like kind of like complete the story about it to give a better idea. It really does make me feel like special. You know, it's very ceremonial object form. Makes me feel special, like I feel like I'm the best person in the world. I also try to use the different models too, where it's kind of like, it kind of gives me the magazine luxury vibe with the models. The left one is actually Minhee England from Blown Away series. I don't know if you guys seen that show. She's also an amazing glass sculptor. Right side, Gina Pisto, a super talented ceramic artist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the last part. I've been using ChatGPT recently a lot. You know, it's really fun tool to talk about. You know, that doesn't mean that I don't have friends. Okay, so they create an image for you, right? And I asked ChatGPT. I gave my work and my image myself, and I asked ChatGPT, hey, can you mix up this 2 photos and recreate my image of me? And that's what it made. It made me look like a 50 years older. That's not even, that doesn't even look like me. But it's actually really fun, and it's interesting to see how the results coming out. So I'm still not a huge fan of AI as a fine artist, but also at the same time, I do see another big potential from the AI because this is just the age that we're living with. We're gonna have to live with it anyways, no matter what. And this is something new assignment for artists, for fine artists, that they're gonna have to either be against it or collaborate with it. So yeah, that's another image. Like I gave this image and that, and then it made me weirdo. Yeah, super weird image. It's also fun. But my question is, for my work, if I use a ChatGPT, I know ChatGPT is like, we're still at this beginning step right now, so everything's kind of like awkward, still weird, funky. But in 10 years, next 10 years, what if I can make my work, what if I can make my work kind of like move in the video? What if I can use my work photos and make a movie of it? That's the question that I started to ask myself. So yeah, of course, like if you see the AI image, it's so different. Like, it didn't even make my image totally same, but it could change my pose. It could create an image with the 2 works in a 1 frame. That means I can create some different stories with it. What if my pizza cutter can actually cut the pizza, right? I was like, that would be a cool project to see in the future. Like, what if my dragon can actually fly in the movie, can actually fly over the city? Like, what if this guy can shoot the cannon or laser, So I was I've been kind of messing around with this ChatGPT AI images, and I do believe that there's a whole nother potential there, for all the artists. As a contemporary glass artist, I don't just want to stuck in a tradition traditional work. Like I want to bring this. I still want to bring this tradition. I don't want to abandon it, but I want to bring this tradition and then collaborate in the future with whatever I can have, you know. But at the end, I gave all my images to AI, and then I asked it, can you make the image like fighting, all my figures fighting each other, and it just completely destroyed all my works. Screw AI. That's it for my slides. For the last one, I'm having a solo show in St. Louis in about a month. If you guys if you guys ever visit there, it's from May 6th to June 29th. My reception will be June 20th, actually, it's the third Friday of June, 6 to 9. I'm also demoing that time. The place is at the Third Degree Glass Gallery in St. Louis. Okay. Sweet, thank you.
So we got about 1 more minute for questions. If anybody has a really good question, we have time for about one of those. Then we have to go on down to the EAC and see who all won our scholarships. Yes?
How do I use a polyfill? Yeah, I use polyfill a lot. Yeah.
Polyfill. One more over there.
What time is the blowout tomorrow?
The blowout is happening at 9 a.m. We're going to be making these sweet pieces, that dagger and that dragon, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Then at 4:30, we're going to have that live auction. Yes.
The mask, how heavy is that? And did you go to Goodwill and get goblets, or did you make the goblets yourself?
I made a goblet by myself, and mask is about 15 pounds heavy. So it was hanging on the ceiling, and people just go behind it and then take a photo of it.
Last one right here.
For your broken pieces, do you reuse them and recreate them?
I definitely do use them. So some of the pieces that I show to you guys, some of them are dead. They're completely destroyed. But I keep all the parts, and then they will be a part of my next installations, kind of as a last generation of my career.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Go check out Emporia First Friday. We have a lot of cool things happening at all the galleries.
Thank you.
To support the ESU Art Forum program, please visit emporia.edu/art. Click on the Events tab, scroll down to the Art Forum link and click. Then scroll down to the Support Art Forum button and click. Finally, choose your donation level and click on the Continue button to complete the process. We appreciate your support.